Sending money, across continents almost instantly.
Hmm.
It feels fast, maybe even secure, right?
Hmm.
But that speed, that convenience, it's actually made wire transfers, a really critical battleground in the fight against financial crime.
It really has.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on understanding wire transfers.
Absolutely. I mean, at its heart, it's just a very efficient way to move money electronically, bank to bank, often in near real
Yeah,
time.
like large business payments, international transfers, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But that efficiency, that's
Mm.
become a huge focus for anyone trying to stop illicit finance.
Okay, so our goal, our mission for this deep dive, we want to give you the essentials, how wires work, the really important regulations around them now, the risks involved.
And also the pretty cutting-edge ways they're being secured.
Right. We've pulled together key info from a source specializing in financial crime intelligence to, well, get you the crucial insights. Okay, let's unpack this. Where do we start? Who's making the rules here?
Well, the rules, the regulatory side, it's incredibly robust. And there's a clear reason. It's all about fighting money laundering and terrorist financing globally.
These aren't just suggestions, then.
No, not at all. They're fundamental rules. Any bank, any institution handling wires has to follow them, period.
So, who are the big players setting these rules?
Internationally, you've got the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF. They
Uh-huh.
set the global standards.
Okay.
Then in Europe, there's the EU's wire transfer regulation. That's EU regulation 215847 specifically.
Right.
And over in the U.S., the bedrock is the Bank Secrecy Act, the BSA. And crucially, FinCEN's travel rule comes under that.
But travel rule. Okay, that sounds important. What's that about?
Oh, it's vital. Yeah. It basically says financial institutions have to collect and send specific details about who's sending the money,
The originator.
right? The originator, and who's receiving it, the beneficiary.
So it's like attaching a tag to the money.
Pretty much. Yeah. Think of it like a digital manifest. Information about the source, the destination, it has to travel with the funds.
Hmm.
And that seemingly simple rule, it's actually disrupted quite a few illicit networks. It forces them into more complex, riskier methods.
So the goal of all these regulations is what? Transparency, making it traceable.
Exactly. Transparency, traceability. It allows authorities to follow the money, spot red flags, detect illicit stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. But if the regulations are so robust, why are wire transfers still such a, magnet for criminals?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The very things that make them good. The speed, the global reach,
Yeah.
that's precisely what criminals exploit. It's fast, it crosses borders easily. That makes it a prime target for abuse.
So what are the specific ways they're being misused, the main risks?
Well, money laundering's a huge one. Wires are perfect for layering dirty money.
Layering.
Yeah, moving funds through lots of different accounts, often across different countries using shell companies, maybe?
Ah, to hide where it came from.
Exactly. Obscure the origin. Shell accounts in various places make that trail even harder to follow. It hides who really owns the money.
Okay, what else?
Then there's business email compromise. BEC. It's scary how effective this can be.
How does that work?
Fraudsters basically trick companies. They might spoof an executive's email, create some urgency, and convince someone in finance to wire company money to a fake account, often large sums.
Wow, okay. And the most serious use?
Yes, unfortunately, terrorist financing. That speed, the cross-border element,
Hmm.
it can be exploited to move funds quickly, discreetly to support illicit activities. Trying to stay below the radar.
So despite the rules, it's still a viable channel for them if there are gaps.
If vulnerabilities aren't addressed effectively, yes, it's a constant challenge.
Okay, so that paints a pretty concerning picture. What about the defense? What are banks and financial institutions actually doing about it?
Right. This is where the technology and, frankly, innovation really come in. They're putting some very sophisticated tools and processes in place.
Like what? Tell us about these cutting-edge approaches.
Okay, so first off, real-time transaction monitoring. That's fundamental.
Watching the wires as they happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Systems analyzing transfers constantly, looking for weird patterns, anomalies, anything suspicious.
Okay.
Then there's sanction screening. Huge. Checking sender receiver details against watch lists.
Like OFAC lists.
Yep, OFAC in the U.S., UN lists, EU lists. Making sure nobody involved is a known criminal or on a sanctions list. And these lists are complex, always changing, so the screening tech needs to be good, accurate, and fast without blocking legitimate payments.
Sort of global digital blacklist, constantly updated. What else is in the toolbox?
Customer due diligence CDD. And
Mm.
for high-risk situations, enhanced due diligence, EDD.
So really knowing your customer.
Absolutely. Verifying who they are, understanding their business, their typical financial activity. Especially important for, say, high-risk clients or usually large transactions.
And you mentioned tech innovation, AI, machine learning.
Yes, definitely. AI and machine learning are becoming critical. They can sift through massive amounts of data way faster than humans, spot subtle patterns, and assess risk dynamically
Yeah,
in real time.
that's powerful.
It is. But, it's also worth remembering criminals adapt too. They might even use AI themselves to create more convincing scams. It's this constant sort of tech arms race.
A cat and mouse game, yeah? So the tech is learning to spot the bad guys.
It's learning. And that also ties into behavioral analytics.
Behavioral analytics, how does that work?
It looks at patterns. How does this customer normally send wires? What amounts? How often? To who?
Okay.
And then it flags anything that deviates sharply from that established norm. It's about context. Is this transaction typical for this customer? It helps separate legit activity from potential fraud, like a financial fingerprint.
Fascinating. So for an organization, maybe a business listening, that handles wires, what are the absolute must-dos, the best practices?
Okay, several key things. First, robust revisations. Know your customer KYC procedures.
Mm.
Non-negotiable. You have to know who you're dealing with. Second, implement that travel rule properly. Make sure the required originator and beneficiary data goes with the cross-border payments. Data integrity is key.
Makes sense.
Third, automate suspicious activity reporting SARs. When something looks off, get that report generated and filed quickly with the authorities.
Automation helps with speed and consistency there.
Definitely. And finally, maybe the most crucial, staff training.
Mm.
Your people need to be able to spot the red flags of wire fraud. Human eyes, human intuition, it's still a vital defense layer.
It really sounds like this cycle, criminals innovate, the industry adapts, regulators tighten rules.
Right.
It just keeps going. What's next? What's on the horizon?
The future is definitely reg tech,
Mm.
regulation plus technology.
Good.
We're going to see even more advanced automation, smarter AI, more real-time analytics. The goal is payment systems that are faster, yes, but also safer, more transparent.
And the regulator.
They're constantly working, too, closing loopholes, trying to improve international cooperation because this stuff crosses borders constantly, and, importantly, holding institutions accountable if they slip up. Enforcement.
So it sounds like as finance gets more digital, more global, understanding wire transfers, securing them, it's just going to become even more critical, central to fighting financial crime globally.
Precisely. It seems like a simple tool, the wire transfer, but it's fundamental. It underpins legitimate global commerce, but it's also, a key channel for illicit funds.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding how it works, the risks, the defenses, it's essential for a safer financial system.
Okay, so let's pull this together. Key takeaways. Wire transfers, super fast, super useful globally.
But also vulnerable. That speed and reach attract criminals.
Right, which leads to heavy regulation and increasingly sophisticated tech defenses trying to keep up.
Fraud prevention, monitoring, AI, it's a whole
Mhm.
ecosystem.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you listening to mull over. Thinking about how fast criminals adapt and how fast reg tech is evolving. What do you think the next big challenge will be? Or maybe the next big breakthrough in securing these vital financial pathways?
That's a good question. Maybe it's about predicting fraud before it even happens. Or maybe better global data sharing.
Could be. Something to think about. Consider how all this impacts your own view of the financial world and perhaps, look into some of those resources on financial crime intelligence if this sparks your interest. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.